Hello and welcome to Mind Your Mind podcast season 5. Yay! All right, so we are here in the 5th season of our podcast, our beloved podcast, with my co host, Ozan Kulchu. We are today going to explore or dive into another very important emotion, which is called guilt. That heavy, nagging feeling that almost all of us has felt at some point in our lives. It may stem from past mistakes, it may stem from unmet expectations, or maybe just, pure weight of responsibilities. Sometimes guilt can be positive, it can push us forward, and sometimes it can be a messy bag of emotions which can hold us back. We are going to discuss what exactly is guilt, how can we learn to make peace with the things that make us feel guilty right now, and maybe just understanding guilt in a deeper way so that it's easier to let it go.
You went right into the guilt. It's a very powerful word to start because, like, even just hearing the word is like creating some anxiety or something like that in your body, right? Yeah, for me it does.
I know
But
it's a
yeah,
really heavy word, small but very heavy.
exactly, exactly. Very heavy word. I mean, and we all have it. You know, it's impossible not to have it.
Hmm.
But yeah, we're gonna talk about actually. Let's dive into it right away. Season 5. Here we go. A minute, and then we are talking about the deep guilt, right? Um, I think guilt is maybe a little bit misinterpreted, my opinion, because there are like multiple meanings of guilt, and we
Okay.
just think that there's only one. That it's kind of like blame. So guilt is practically blaming yourself for something you did. There are two cases of guilt. One of them is you actually did something. You made a mistake. Maybe you didn't do something you should have done. Maybe you wronged someone. Maybe you were rude to someone. Maybe you really did something bad. It happens. We all do mistakes, obviously. Everybody in the world has done some mistakes, wronged someone else, intentionally or unintentionally. And it's practically our inner wisdom telling us that that was not okay.
Correct.
It is actually very big wisdom in the words that the guilt is saying, that meaning of guilt. Similar to like if you imagine like someone did a mistake, and you would just talk to them about, hey, that was not okay. Let's not do that again. Maybe next time you can try this. Kind of like a constructive feedback we always give. That's the way to work forward. And this inner wisdom is practically doing this. To know that let's do different next time. And it's a perfectly beautiful emotion. But the impact it creates is quite negative. As I
Hmm.
mentioned, like when I say guilt, when I heard you say guilt, it directly creates some anxiety, some bad feeling in my stomach. For me, it was like my muscles became a bit more tense. Possibly like other people also feel that, right? But the thing is, there's a second meaning of guilt. But the word is the same and the impact is the same. But the
Hmm.
reason is not that you did something wrong. The reason is basically you didn't fulfill other people's expectations. Or to put it more correctly, you perceive yourself that you did not fulfill what you perceive others to expect from you. So it's like I feel guilty because I think I I didn't fulfill Henna's expectation.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So there's like two assumptions there. One of them is that I didn't fulfill her expectation, and the second one is how I perceive your expectation.
That's really interesting, Ozan. I think I really like that perspective that you gave of guilt in the beginning. It is our inner wisdom, which maybe it's our, our conscience, our conscious, which nags us, reminds us that you did something wrong and you need to correct your action in the future. This is like if this is a really positive perception of guilt, but sometimes those actions which are being considered wrong are only being considered wrong by other people, and you are not, like, you are not aligned on that you did wrong. In your way you really just made a choice you that felt right at that time, uh, and now the repercussion of that choice, the the consequences of that choice have turned out sour. So maybe you feel guilty about, not just not making the right choice at the right time, but at that point what you did that felt very right. So it once we are trapped in that guilt, it's very difficult for us to remind ourselves that this is exactly what we wanted at one point of time. If the things didn't turn out the way I expected, uh, maybe it was never in my hands. Maybe this was bound to happen. But we always blame ourselves for not taking the right decision at that time. So it's so interesting. Like, guilt is a heavy emotion. It's a stomach wrenching feeling because you cannot go back in time. Whatever has happened has been in the past now, and you cannot go back and correct that action. Even if you can, there's no guarantee that your correction would lead to a better result right now. I think it's just a very human emotion, which I think is unavoidable, unescapable from all of us on a daily basis make some choices, be it small, big decisions, anything. But anything can lead to anything else. Like, you really don't, you can, there are so many factors playing a role at one particular point of time, and there is in no way you can know that what is going to be the outcome of what you're doing right now. So it's like, just like we can't predict the future, the same way we cannot predict how our best of the decisions are going to turn out in the future. The only way to find peace or redemption from your guilt is to remind yourself that this is what you wanted at one point of time, and this decision of yours was right at that time when you took it. So, constantly reminding yourself that this is something you wanted, and this is not something that you have, uh, this it has come out of nowhere. Like, it is something that you really wanted, and now it might not be working out in your favor right now, but the things will change, and maybe you are going to take a decision right now which will make everything else at peace.
Now you made an interesting point there, like everything, well, we feel guilty about it, things which were our decisions at what point. So there's some sort of responsibility and accountability for your actions, right? Uh,
Mhm.
but we just go retrospective, and what we're doing is you can't change the outcome of anything in life. Whatever happened, happened, right? But what we're doing is taking a stick and beating ourselves with it, punishing,
Sure.
if you will.
Right.
Taking the
I think
constructive feedback and doing different next time is one thing, but beating yourself up and stuck in the past is another thing, right?
right, right.
And
Also
also,
What really doesn't let us move is the fact that guilt has a way of lingering around us. It has a way of constantly whispering in our ears and, you know, making us, it just pulls us back. It just constantly pulls us back. Uh, there's no way you can silence your inner mind, your wisdom. If you would like to call it wisdom, so be it. But sometimes it's just the nagging voices in your head uh, that that keep telling you that you did it wrong, you did it wrong, you shouldn't have done this.
I think that is the distinction, that whose voice is it, to
Mhm.
separate the two different meanings. If it's your inner wisdom, you know it, because right now, in this situation, you just do it all over again. Because that is the right thing for you. Your mind and your heart are aligned. You remember the coherence episode, right? It's
Yes.
basically like if it's aligned, it's aligned. Uh, and then when it's not aligned, then you did something wrong, then your inner wisdom is talking. But in the first scenario, you did what you think is right, and right now you still think that what you did is right.
Hmm.
But you still have guilt because of, well, what you think other people think or what other people actually think. Like,
Hmm.
we are both from like very heavy cultures, if you will, sophisticated and beautiful cultures, but quite heavy. So people have expectations from you, and not expectations like what you should do for them, but expectations about how you should live your life, right? There's a standard of how you should be, how you should talk, how you should act. Should is the word here. That there are expectations from you, and then you put more into yourself by perceiving more and imagining scenarios where they are criticizing you, where they are judging you. Then this is accumulated. That even though you try to live as you want and you want to live one way, there is a pressure to live this way, which is not aligned with your heart. And that is the other, that is not your inner wisdom blaming
Right.
you. That is just some
That's just
voices
the
which you learn.
outside noises, right? And I can't agree with you more because this is the guilt I'm feeling right now in my phase of life where I am a new mom, and even an hour away from my child makes me get trapped in mom guilt, because of course it has a lot to do with my own way of thinking. Like I pressurize myself a lot internally, but it has a lot to do from society, the societal expectations of an ideal mother who spends all the time with the child, even if she's not able to give quality time to him. That is never in the picture. Like, nobody would say that you are a bad mom because you're not paying attention to what your child wants, but they automatically say that you are a bad mom if you're not around. This is the thing I'm really struggling with at a personal level right now. Sometimes it's just in my mind, and there's nothing wrong, like there's no pressure from outside, but it's all in my mind that I should go back home quickly, to I should get back to my baby quickly because he might be needing me, he might be asking for me. Or maybe I pull myself down by saying that I'm a bad mom because I have abandoned him for 2 hours straight or 4 hours straight. What am I doing? I really don't know how to be a good mother. And the reasons can be as stupid as, what if he starts liking someone else more than me? What if I miss a milestone? uh, things like that, which are so like nothing can really change in an hour, or nothing can really change in a day. But children grow up really fast, uh, and a mother's place is a mother's place. Nobody can take that place. So it in the heart of your heart that you are essential, but you still feel that insecurity of being replaced, being uh, you know out of sight, out of mind. So yeah, it I think it's a
Yeah.
need both the ways. Like I need my child as much as my child needs me. It's very difficult for the people to understand around you that what you are doing is also important to you. In this area of my life where I really need to believe that, I'm struggling. uh, I just feel that, if I'm not there for the entire day, then maybe I'm not being a good mother.
That is the strength of this whole emotion, right? Like you can look at the same situation with
Hmm.
complete logic and no emotion, no guilt. Then it's crystal clear from anybody outside, especially men, because I'm not a mother,
Right.
crystal clear that your son will have a better life if he has a mentally stable mother who is not burned out, who is not
Right.
going crazy. And it's not a normal expectation from any mother to be 100% there because first you need your own mental state in order to do something. And for that, you need to socialize. For that, you need some alone time. For that, you need some solitude, everything that what we have talked before. But that
Hmm.
is only the case if you see that from a logical perspective, and then you can assess the risks better. What are the worst things that can happen? But this is what guilt does. You look at the situation with pure emotion that you cannot see some of these points because the guilt is just constantly feeding you with some voices. It is kind of nagging about what other people say, and then everybody's words are coming into our minds, and everything what we have heard about this topic is coming to our minds, and we cannot define clearly what you really think and what just this whole emotion is bringing on top of your head. Then it becomes a chaos.
Right. Right. I think that is exactly the case with emotions, right? There's no logic there. When you're feeling it, you don't have any logical explanation to it, and no logical explanation can make you feel less of it. Uh, and
If
uh,
you can listen to the logical explanations, then you can actually feel less emotion. But here is a paradox. The more intense you feel an emotion, less you can see the logical side of it. Then it
right.
becomes more and more. It's basically like you jump on a train. But as soon as you have some sort of awareness and you realize the power of the emotion and you realize the distinction between logical cases in your thought, logical thoughts and beliefs, and thoughts that are created by the emotion. If you
Mm-hmm.
can have this awareness distinct between them, then you can realize, okay, let's focus on this point. Then you will feel it will tune down the emotion a little bit. You will probably not be able to get rid of it because it's in the human mind. But you can still control it a bit better. But for that, it needs a lot of awareness to take a step back and see the situation from outside.
I agree with you, but you know, this guilt is coming from a choice that I made. Now, if I don't make that choice, maybe my child is happy, maybe I am happy. I don't know. Maybe the people around are happy watching me spend time with my child. But somewhere, I made this choice because I wasn't feeling the way I should have been feeling by spending time with him. I was feeling drained out and I wanted some me time. I felt that I need this time away from the responsibilities, and that's the reason I stepped out. Now I stepped out and I suddenly start feeling guilty. Guilt, I think, is a mother's guilt especially is a unique paradox where she wants both the things, but she is not happy with just one. She wants the both the things. She wants me time, but she doesn't want to be away from the child. She wants to be with the child, but she doesn't want herself to be lost in that process. I think all the mothers would relate with me, especially the new moms, the ones who are still figuring it out, the ones who are still struggling with, how to navigate this. But yes, of course, if you look at it in a logical way, like my husband always explains it to me, that what's the harm? It's good for your child's development too, that he spends more time with people around, and he should be comfortable with everyone else, not just you. He'll learn to trust people around, if you are not there. So that's good. It's like a personality development session that you are giving him unintentionally. And when he says that, it sounds so good to the ears, but the moment I'm in there, I'm away from my child, it just wrenches my chest, and it just makes me want to go back soon. So I don't think any words can help convincing myself with logic, but I'm not sure. Like, I think it takes time.
The thing is, well, being a mother is a bit more extreme example because there are also the hormones included in there, right? It's physical to be a mother. It's not
Right.
only mental, but it's also
Yes,
physical.
that can be, yeah.
But taking that aside, it just
Hmm.
makes everything a bit more intense, obviously. But taking that aside, there's still a lot of things coming from the guilt. In a different culture, they might not feel the same intensity as you because you learned most of these things in your culture. I know how impactful it is.
I second that
Uh,
totally.
the thing is, no words can help in that situation. Literally, nothing can help in that situation. Only thing that can help in that situation is literally only thing that can help in you in any emotional situation.
Hmm.
Taking a step back, doing nothing, and watching your mind, being aware of this. Being aware of like sitting down with your thoughts and seeing all the thoughts. Okay, so many things on your head. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if that? What if this? But I do this, but I do that. What you need to do is sit down, be alone, and deal with all the thoughts that come. Can try journaling, can try meditating, but touch all of them. Everything that comes to your mind. Okay, this. Does it make sense? No, it doesn't. It's just the guilt throwing me. Does it make sense? No, this doesn't make sense. Why do I have this thought? You either learned it from someone, you heard it from someone, maybe it's a cultural point, and maybe one thought will come, this actually makes sense. Maybe
Yeah.
it will really hurt my relationship with my son. Maybe I can do something, but this is the logic. So you can actually pinpoint the thoughts. This thought is actually logical. It makes sense. This thought is someone I heard in the family. This thought, because when you're a mother or father, you always have a lot of words from your
A
family,
lot of
right?
advice
Parents,
is
grandpa.
pouring in
The,
from everywhere. Yeah.
everybody is telling you what you should do, and everybody says you're doing it wrong because you didn't do it there.
Hmm.
And the thing is, we absorb all of this,
Yeah.
but we forget to filter out. We forget. If we step back and realize these things and see if it actually makes sense, and if it doesn't, it's gone. But in order to do that, we really need to watch our mind from a kind of like a third person
Hmm.
so that you see that you are indeed like dominated by the like this guilt emotion, and you can see actually what is created by guilt and what is not created by guilt, what is actually your original thoughts.
Yeah, I think this advice is really helpful. These are some quick tips that we can all mothers can apply and make use of. And yeah, yeah. Thank you for that. I
And I
think
think
I
that
think
that is part to realize and get rid of some of them. But I think the real medication for guilt is is a self-compassion.
Self-compassion. Yeah, I agree. But can you think of any other example of where you maybe felt guilty recently, or something that is holding you back and nagging you constantly? Uh, any personal story, or maybe a friend going through an incident?
There's so many things. For example, I feel guilty that I'm not in Turkey. Such a simple thing. Like I live in a much easier place to live in, right? If you want to put it in the right words. I don't miss Turkey, but I love my life here. But there's always some guilt in me that I abandoned my country or I abandoned my family over there. And these things, they come all the time, and it will never stop coming. But you need to realize, does it logically make sense? And I have to remind myself of it. This guilt it came again, but this doesn't really make sense. No, it makes sense for me to be here. I choose to be here,
Mm.
and I still think that I choose the right thing. If one day I feel like I didn't choose the right thing, I made a mistake, then I can correct it by going back. But I need to constantly remind myself sometimes. But the thing is awareness. As you say, it comes sometimes and I don't realize. I just feel there is some tension in my body. And I always have to listen. What is it caused by? Is it anxiety? Am I afraid of something? Am I anxious about something that's going to come tomorrow? Or, guilt came again. Something triggered it. I don't know what. Maybe I talked to my parents. Maybe I talked to a friend. Maybe I watched news in Turkey and I felt bad that I'm not there. It triggers. It comes always, but I need to realize, this thought
Mm.
again. I know this one. Doesn't make sense. Gone.
Mm. Thank you for sharing that. Actually, you actually reminded me of my husband Nikhil, who experiences, I would say, exact same things. That why am I not living with my parents? Why am I not in India? Why have I created a life so far away from them that it gets difficult to even meet on special occasions, festivals? He keeps discussing this with me, and the one thing that I tell him, I it's because of you they get the exposure of coming to USA. It's because of you that they are able to see a completely new country, which they otherwise wouldn't have, because of their age and the kind of the exposure that they have back in India. They wouldn't have really moved out for anyone else. They are here because you have a home here, you have a family here, you have a life here. So that that even pulls them here, and it is a big achievement for them at this age. They feel so privileged and so proud that they are able to see a completely new country, and they thank us for that, of course. And uh, as far as meeting every time is concerned, I strongly feel that the closer you are with family, the physical closeness doesn't really mean emotional, and uh, emotional ties are stronger. I really feel it works in the opposite way. The more physically close you are, the more emotionally away you tend to drift. That's what I have been. I have personally experienced this in my family, in my relationships. This is what has really come out as a learning for me. But because I have experienced it and he hasn't, uh, it's very difficult to learn from the other person's experience. You still want to, because you haven't ever had the taste of that feeling. So you just feel that it might just be different in my case. But I tell him that this is exactly what I tell him, that sometimes it's really important to be far away from from your near and dear ones, so that there is this love out of longing. The connection becomes really strong when they can't see you every day. That missing really adds to the love that you share. But yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
how much of it makes sense to him or how much of it is making sense to you at the moment. But I can say it because I have really felt this in my life.
Yeah, but you gave a good example of like taking a situation that you did something huge. Like he had so much success that he made it over there, and he basically increased the vision of his family as well, and created so much possibilities. Something so positive, yet you're stuck in a negative loop of guilt. And I bet that you have to remind this over to him time and time again because it comes usually, right? It also comes to me. So you need to be aware of it when it comes and then realize it. But this is also one of the examples I think so many expats in the world will have. But
Hmm.
it's a standard one. So many people will have. And there are also like very basic ones. Like how you mentioned when you're away from your son, you feel some sort of guilt. We feel guilt whenever we say no.
Hmm.
It's bad to say no. It's also a
I
bit
know.
cultural,
So
right? Like
hard.
that sometimes you have to say no. If you have something better to do, if you need to be alone, you have to say no. And we feel guilt whenever we say no to our friends or our family, but we have to draw the boundaries. And here is the logic. Logic says you need to draw your boundary. And if you really need to say no, logically, yes, you say no. And there shouldn't be any guilt with that, but there always is. Because it's
There
not
are.
your inner wisdom, it's those voices in your head saying that. But you need to be able to realize that when that comes. And the more you do it, the more you'll be able to realize it easier. And the
Sure.
less physical reaction you will feel whenever you say no. But it
Yeah, the
takes a lot of
practice
practice.
makes it easier. Yes, right. And I think that you raised such a great point. It is so difficult to set boundaries, but it is so important to do that, to set boundaries, because uh, if you don't want yourself to be lost, uh, if you really want to safeguard what you are and how you want to be, I think it's really important to have boundaries in life. Uh, yeah, and if they come with guilt, let it be. I mean, sometimes,
Boundaries will come with guilt, 100%. You
yeah,
need
but
to
then
deal with
just
it.
keep doing it. Let's just keep doing it without succumbing to that negative emotion that crops up. Just keep doing it. That is so important. Uh,
But realize it, hear it. If you don't hear it, that it's the guilt's voice, not your own voice, then you cannot really reduce that tone. Only if you realize that that voice is the guilt's voice, not your own voice.
yes, yes, of course. It should be something that you really want to do. It shouldn't be something that you have heard of and you feel that it would be good to do. Uh, it should really come from inside. Like if you're setting up a boundary that I'm not going to take any calls after 10 p.m. Uh, be it any call, like I'm just going to be away from my phone, even if it's anyone who's calling me, a dear friend or a close family member. If I have a boundary, I have a boundary, and I will convey it to everyone politely, either by said words or by unsaid words. I'll just let them know that, please don't call me after 10 p.m., because I that is my time, or that is my family time, or whatever, that is me time. uh, it will be difficult for the people around you, maybe for 1 day, 2 day, 1 week, 1 month, but then I really think that it acts as a filter for unwanted people to be out of your lives. If they
Or
are
just minimize, maybe just reduce it. Maybe you just need less hours.
right,
Yeah.
right,
you shouldn't go extreme, all or nothing. Also, like sometimes it's right here, not here, not here, not here.
Totally. I mean, and you have made that choice because of some reason, because you have been constantly checking your phone throughout the night. So now now you know that you really need a break from that. You really need to uh, put that habit aside and focus on better things in life. So in order to help yourself do that, if people are coming in between your self care or your self help exercise, then they are not your people, in my opinion. They are not concerned about you, but they are more concerned about themselves. So I think boundaries act as such clear, straightforward filters in your life that, if you're struggling to remove people from your life, just set boundaries and see who which ones stay, which people wait for you, and which just slip away.
Exactly, and be aware of the guilt. And whenever that comes, please do self-compassion. Like
Hmm.
imagine how when your son makes a mistake, how would you react to your son? You wouldn't take a stick and beat, right? You wouldn't do that, right?
Yes.
Anyway,
Hmm.
the thing is, like, you should really treat yourself in a similar way. Hey, it's okay. Everybody makes mistakes. I'm not
Hmm.
gonna do it next time. But that's okay. Don't worry about it. I got you.
All right. I think we had a pretty heavy discussion on this topic. What do you think?
Told you, do you go right in that guilt? Yeah, but it is a difficult one. I think
Actually,
it was important that we talk about it because people
yeah,
usually
I
just
think
forget to
mom's
talk
guilt
about it.
made it in a different direction. Or it just turned it into a different direction altogether.
I'm sure 99% of moms go through this.
Yes, yes, I know.
And that's
Uh,
why it's very important to keep your mental state and still be aware of what's coming because it will be an emotional roller coaster as you have been on an emotional roller coaster. It's just everything is more intense. And on top of it, you have the hormones.
hmm,
That means that you need to spend extra care about what is going on in your mind, which is
hmm.
most difficult because that's the least time you will ever have in your life, probably.
True, true. So true. I mean, guilt can arise from it can have any reason, it can have any root, it can be your cultural upbringing, it can be your own mindset, which which can be flawed. Sometimes it can be just you being rigid, and sometimes it can be unintentional, like, out of nowhere you decided to do something and it turned out against you and against everybody. So uh, guilt has really no like, we can't really prevent ourselves from feeling guilty, but all we can do is manage it. All we can do is manage it in a way where it's up to us, like, uh, where you want to seek logical advice or just handle it with logic. Sometimes you can just remind yourself that this is what you wanted at one point of time, and if it didn't work out in that way you anticipated, maybe it's for the better. A simple reminder is okay. Like, I can share another example where I have been feeling guilty all this while. Like, it's been a long time I've been feeling guilty about this. I moved to the US after marriage. Before that, I was in India, and back home in India, I was always the one who was the in charge of the financial things in the family. So the person you can count on. Sometimes I was even the sole bread earner because of my father's health. So I was the one who was taking care of the finances in the family. More than that, I was always raised in a way you always have to, keep working for yourself. Like, uh, earning money is not just for the money, it's for your own personal development and personality growth. So that was my upbringing always. And I still think that's really relevant for, especially for the girls, in the Indian girls.
Be independent.
Yes, being independent, being your own master, not just in terms of finances, but, you know, finances are a big part of it. And then when I got married, at that time I was fully aware that I'll have to quit my job, because I'm moving to a new country. I'll have to wait to get a work permit till I find another job. But that whole thing seemed so relaxing, so unwinding. It felt like I needed this break because I have gone through a lot, and now if I'm getting some time off, then why not have it? And it's not that, I always had that confidence that I'll be able to get back into action very soon. It's just a matter of time. But what I hadn't prepared for was the helplessness that came with not being able to work. It just came out of nowhere. It got triggered when suddenly one day I was discussing how the expenditure in this month with my husband, and he said that, this month we have spent so much and we need to cut down on some things uh, because we are not saving enough, or we don't have this much, like we don't have enough. Those those words really started tightening my stomach. Like, why am I not contributing here? Like, why don't we have another income source? Like, I'm not used to listening these things and just doing nothing about it. Or sometimes when, a casual conversation with my mom over phone, when she tells me that, we are planning to exchange our car for another car because this one is troubling us, is getting worn out, and we really need another one, but we don't have uh, enough funds right now, so we are waiting till we gather enough funds. Just a casual conversation like that, where she's not even wanting me to feel guilty about anything, but it makes my stomach tighten. It just makes me feel that, why am I not being able to contribute here? uh
I can totally relate to that. I think many people can, especially when it comes to the family. There is this thing to help each other, to protect each other whenever something bad happens. And it's the first thing that comes to the mind is practically guilt. And sometimes you can do something about it and you don't, and that
mhm.
is that is the guilt. But there are situations like you can't do much about it. These are situations where like a lot of logic and a lot of thinking are required, and a lot of boundaries are also required.
Yeah,
But
so
it's
it
very emotionally charged topics.
yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to say, that, that guilt uh didn't just come out as a huge emotion. Came it just came out with some situations, and then with the helplessness it just got intensified. It just feels like, why? It
Yeah,
could have been better. I could have made a
yeah.
better decision. I could, maybe why didn't I anticipate it? Why was I wearing rose tinted glasses at that time? So,
Yeah, but here is exactly the place where you bring self-compassion. Here's the situation. This is a perfect example of how you perceive other people's expectations to be. Sometimes they do expect us to help, and then we feel guilt. But sometimes they don't even do that. Your family didn't even ask for something, and then you create this thing because you want to be there for them. You love them. You know that there's love, a lot of love in there, and you want to be there. You want to support. You want to protect them. But there's actually no expectation. But in your mind, there is.
yeah, it's actually the expectation from your own self, which is nagging me every time, that I was never this person. What have I become? Why have I become so dependent? uh, so every time, even if it's like for a little thing, if I have to depend on someone for money or for anything, it just comes back altogether. It just makes me feel worse. It just makes me, and at that very moment is nothing. Like, nobody could imagine that this thing made you feel so much, but it is all a baggage that I'm carrying from the past, from every little experience. And it's a self image that I have kind of, I'm not standing up to it. So it just makes me feel guilty all the time. But yeah,
It's a baggage. It's
yeah,
a baggage.
it's a bag.
Expectations,
all
they're nothing but a baggage.
all the messy feelings.
All we need to do is to let go sometimes. It's the hardest thing, but on the other hand, to let go, just let go. Let go of the expectations for yourself to be perfect, do all the things what you're supposed to do, and just care. What if your best friend was telling you these? What would you say to her? You'll be easy on her, right? But when it's you who are under these expectations and
Mm.
pressure, you're really, really harsh on yourself. We are the harshest on ourselves.
Yes.
And that's why it's very important to feel this compassion, to talk to yourself like you're talking to your son or daughter or your best friend, and care and let go of the expectations. It's okay that you are not perfect. You will never be, and nobody is. Let
Mm.
go of this expectation. Just let it
Right.
go.
Right. Okay. So should we wrap
We should let go.
up? We should just let it go.
Just let it go.
Just let it go. Right.
Everybody listening, just let go.
Just let go. Right. And it's just two simple words: let go. But they take a lifetime.
It is just life on earth. No reason to carry baggages what we don't need.
True. Thank you, Azan, for this conversation. It has it's always so enriching, and it leaves you with so many thoughts. It leaves you feeling so much better than you felt an hour earlier. So it's always a great experience discussing such intense things in such a friendly conversational manner. And I think that's why I just love being on this podcast.
Yeah, exactly. We take the hard things and we just break it down and make it easy. And
Yeah.
that's what we should eventually do, take the hard things, talk about it. If you don't talk about it, they don't get easier, they don't get better. But the more you talk about it, it's better. And that's why this podcast is so good, because we talk about so many different perspectives on the
Yes.
same topic. And then we create as we go along. No preparation, nothing. And we deal with it right now, right here. So thank you very much, Henna.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I look forward to the next episode.
Exactly. Let go. See you
Let's
soon.
go. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.